Hello, I'm Death's Arrow, and welcome to episode 21 of What I'm Thinking. In this episode, I will look at the Object 704 and how the original Russian stealth beast stacks up against power creep. From a historical perspective, the Object 704 was a prototype self-propelled gun developed in 1945, utilizing elements of the IS-2 and IS-3 tank. It was armed with a 152.4mm ML-20SM model 1944 gun howitzer with no muzzle brake. Ammunition was a two-piece affair consisting of a shell and charge, weighing in at 107 pounds once assembled. The rate of fire was limited to less than 2 shells a minute. Secondary armament consisted of two 12.7 by 108mm machine guns, one for anti-aircraft, the second was mounted coaxially. Protection was increased by placing the thick armor plates at radical angles. Unfortunately, this also caused the self-propelled gun to be difficult to operate. The lack of a muzzle brake further complicated operations and caused the Object 704 to not be adopted for service. The single-produced prototype is on display at the Kubinka Tank Museum located just outside of Moscow. As noted previously, the Object 704 was fitted with the 152.4mm ML-20SM gun, which historically was very effective against German tanks. In World of Tanks, both the ISU-152 and Object 704 have the BL-10 as the top gun. The BL-10 was part of a project to increase the penetration of the 152mm BR-2 model 1935, specifically to deal with the Ferdinand tank destroyer. This gun had already been tested in the experimental Su-14 artillery. Work began in 1943. The gun was refined, designated as the BL-8, and installed in the ISU-152. Tests of the gun against a 150mm, 180mm, and 203mm plate are shown. The gun had tremendous power, but the RKAA was not satisfied. Work on the gun continued, eventually leading to the BL-10, which was mounted on another ISU chassis. Trials commenced in December of 1944, revealing the barrel strength and angle of the horizontal guidance were unsatisfactory. The gun was sent back for further improvements, but the war ended before they could be completed. In World of Tanks, the Object 704 is the original hard hitter and has been in the game since closed beta. The TD has undergone a number of nerfs since that time, including decreases in mobility and stealth, but is still an effective battlefield contributor capable of smashing many of the tanks it faces in 2 hits utilizing the 152mm BL-10 top gun. The BL-10 should be very familiar once you get to the 704 since it's also the top gun on the ISU-152, but with a slightly faster rate of fire and aim time. Reload time though is still approximately 15 seconds, making the 704 vulnerable to lights and fast mediums. Thankfully, many opponents still fear this gun and will shy away from charging. If you do get circled though, you will very likely not survive, as the 704 turns like a whale and is easy to pin. It should be noted that the BL-10 is a finicky gun at times. It's not the most accurate weapon to begin with, and it has a bad habit of missing fully lined up shots. Since it does have a pretty significant reload time, those misses will stand out. Don't let it frustrate you, as when the gun is on, it's unstoppable. I use 2 very different styles when I play the 704. When the map and situation are right, I'll play a standard bush camping role and snipe. The 704 has very good camo, making it rather effective in this role. You do have to be careful though, because if you do get spotted, everything will go after you to take a big gun out of the match. The other playstyle I use is the flank push. I'll join a group of tanks going to one flank and help them push through, utilizing the big gun to quickly take down enemies. This playstyle requires some caution though, as you don't want to wade into a bunch of enemies as you won't survive long. What you do want to do is act in a supporting capacity, taking shots of opportunity and staying back a little bit from the front lines. Flanking isn't really a strength of the 704, but if you can maneuver in on a distracted enemy, they're in for a nasty surprise. For equipment on this tank, I recommend a rammer to improve reload time, an enhanced gun laying drive to improve aim time, and binocs for long-range spotting. Binocs aren't necessarily the most useful piece of equipment depending on your playstyle. For crew skills, I recommend camo training first, then 6th sense and clutch braking as key second skills to train. Other useful skills are recon, situational awareness, designated target, off-road driving, safe stowage, and repair. The first replay that we'll be looking at is a solo battle on port from March 6, 2013. Please note that this is an 8.3 patch battle. As noted at the top of the loading screen, this is a standard battle. Reviewing tank composition for this battle reveals the following. This is a Tier 9 battle with 5 Tier 9s on each team. My team has 4 Tier 8s while the enemy team has 6. My team has 4 Tier 7s while the enemy team has 1. The enemy team has a Tier 6 light tank. Both teams have 2 arty pieces. My team has a Tier 6 and a Tier 5, while the enemy team has a Tier 6 and a Tier 4. I recognize the members of Platoon 1 as they are my former clanmates. As the battle loads in, I make a decision to go down to the western side of the map. I'm not a big fan of this map to begin with, and it's definitely not ideal for the 704 due to the lack of soft cover other than the exception of the green strip in the middle of the map, which isn't even tactically viable from this side.
Let's get this show on the road.
As the match gets underway, I begin to head west. Taking the back road in order to not be spotted. Don't really want to go any other route. That will open me up to artillery strikes. Get to the second bridge. I'm going to move up, support the T-54E1. The good news as I reach the western side of the map is the VPG platoon has also decided to come this way. I'll have some decent teammates to work with. We have a WZ-120 spotted. Object 704. T-54E1 takes a hit. I decide I'm going to go on the left side of the overpass. There's at least one more tank that I saw knock a tree down. Break through the barrier. Looking for targets of opportunity. I've been spotted. Got a flank shot on the Jagdtiger. Get tracked by their Object 704. Get a flank hit on the Jagdtiger. Back behind the concrete fence. Trying to line up another shot between the bridge support pillars. Don't really have a shot. Was hoping that WZ-120 would break down the fence. Got the Jagdtiger again, and I bounce off his upper hull. Something knocks down some more of the fence. I back into cover. I am now maneuvering. I'm gonna head up to the train cars. Try to spread this flank out a little bit. Line up the Jagdpanther. Take a hit from Artie. Missed my shot. Get up behind the train cars. I can see the back of the Jagdtiger, 8.8 centimeter. Hit him in the side. Bit of a low damage roll, just under 600 hit points. As my reload is winding down, I'm moving back forward. By spreading out along this flank, the enemy can't focus in just one direction. If played right, this is an excellent strategy to pick this group of enemies apart, as we can each take turns randomly popping out when the enemy is distracted. The zoom out mod can come in handy in these situations, giving you a better view of what the enemy is focusing on. Keeping a close eye on these enemies to see what they're focused on. Had a shot at E75, but he backed up. And I get the kill shot on the Jagdtiger 8.8 centimeter. Artillery misses me. Pushing up again. Almost the top of the turret of the E75, but he backed out. I've been spotted. I'm going to back up. Thought about pushing in on the object, but he turned towards me. Wasn't really sure what he was doing, obviously, from my regular view. Trying to line up the E75. Bounce off his turret. Something hit my left flank. Not sure what. Heading back behind the train cars again. Trying to line up the E75 as I reload. Get a hit. Artie has been focused on me for quite some time before destroying the train car. A little cover can go a long way so long as you generally know where the rounds are coming from. Knowledge of standard Artie positions comes in handy in these situations. He obliges by turning his flank at me and I knock him down. Going after the Object 704 now. And our M103 knocks him down. Now I'm going after the Ag Tiger. And I knock him down. We've cleared this flank. With the flank broken, we are now free to push into the enemy backfield. All 4 remaining enemy tanks are on the eastern flank, with the only unknown being Artie. There are only 2 friendlies covering that flank, and I'll need to keep an eye on that in case the enemy breaks through, as our T-25/2 is not loaded into the match. Got our M103 and T-29 with me. One of the annoying things about the zoom out mod is certain objects like overpasses will block the camera view, which is why I had to go with that low camera angle for a little bit there. Get caught up on the pipes there. That is a non-destructible piece of terrain. Continuing to push back. Spot their Lorraine 155-50 at K7. Don't really have a shot with all the obstructions. He was backing up for a second. Have the grill in front of me. Swing around the corner. Snap a shot off and knock him down. The other flank, which looked like it was in trouble, has held its own. It's right now a Super Pershing against a KV-5, and the Super Pershing is winning that engagement. I make a decision I'm going to cap here for insurance, although it's really not necessary. I probably could have continued in the pursuit for the artillery. Decided to take the cap points instead. Doesn't really matter either way. And the M103 knocks down the Lorraine 155-50 for the win. Based on information from the Wot Replay Analyzer, I destroyed 4 tanks, hit 9 of 10 shots for 3,267 points of damage, and earned 984 experience before the double. Overall, this battle shows off how to push a flank in the Object 704. Going to the western flank worked out nicely as my former clanmates went the same direction. Having teammates that you can trust is a benefit that can't be taken lightly. We worked over the defenders on our flank, utilizing a spread formation so the enemy couldn't focus in a single direction. While Artie was focused on me for much of the engagement, I generally knew where they were firing from and used the train cars for cover. One of the advantages of having played a lot of Artie early in my World of Tanks career is understanding how it functions and knowing how to avoid the brunt of it. Once the flank was broken, it appeared that the other flank was in trouble but ended up holding their own. Taking enemy Artie down is generally a priority in higher tiered matches, and we had enough speed to come back around had the enemy pushed through. The second replay they'll be looking at is a platoon battle on Sand River from January 2nd, 2013. I am platoon with Jovial Madness in his AMX-50 Foch. Please note that this is an 8.3 patch battle. As noted at the top of the loading screen, this is a standard battle. Reviewing tank composition for this battle reveals the following. This is a Tier 10 battle with 5 Tier 10s on each team. My team has 4 Tier 9s while the enemy team has 3. My team has 4 Tier 8s while the enemy team has 6. My team also has a Tier 5 scout. Both teams have a single Tier 7 Artie piece. I don't recognize anyone in this battle. As the battle loads in, Jovial and I have decided to go north. There is only a single Artie in the match, so getting bombarded is unlikely. We're planning to push up to D6 and then see what happens from there, as this is a Tier 10 match and there are quite a few fast tanks on the enemy team. As the match gets underway, begin to head north. We're going to take the pass at E0. T110 gets in my way. Looks like we'll have TDs on the overlook to support us. Jovial's taking his time in front of me. The Foch has much more mobility than the 704, accelerates faster, turns faster. We have a T44 up there, and we have spotted an AMX 1390. AMX 5120 has also been spotted. We've got more blips on the radar. 6 enemy tanks now. It doesn't take long before we recognize that we don't have much help and that the enemy has sent significant numbers to our flank. A tactical retreat is in order here. There's no reason to suicide into that blob of tanks. Jovial immediately turned around and went back. I'm backing out. Now that I've reached the village, I can do a full turnaround. Maximize my speed to retreat. I'm going to head to the ridge. T-44 gets knocked down. Unsurprisingly, way too much firepower on this flank. Jovial's already in position and sniping. T-110 is pushed into the small village. Lining up the 5100, although he's backed into cover. Lining up the low. Miss. Getting back on top of the ridge so I can try to line up a shot. Lining up the low again. Get a hit, no damage. Enemy has a tank up on top of the ridge at B9. It's an FV4202. I line him up. And I miss. Take a hit to the track. No hit point damage. The 4202 is backed behind the cliffs. One thing that Jovial and I have been good at is working together to tackle threats. As the T-110E5 breaks through to our base, we quickly move together to engage him. Our T-28's down to 3 hit points. Jovial's pressed in, he gets a hit. Right behind him. He just got another hit. And I knocked down the T-110E5. We have enemies behind us. We begin to wheel around. AMX 5100, AMX 1390, super Pershing and a low. Pop just over the edge of the cliff, line up the super Pershing, get a hit, knock him down to 22 hit points. I get tracked, taking a few hits here. I've got a T-54 that snuck in the background. We've lost our T-28. It's pretty much just Jovial and myself. There's another heavy at H0. I think that's our IS-7. He just knocked down the low. Basically using the threat of our guns to keep the enemy in place from charging us. Jovial knocks down the super Pershing. I come up with a rise and a miss on the 5100. Jovial's back in their faces. He hits the 1390. Lining up the 5100. Hit him in the flank. Jovial finishes him off. Jovial gets a hit on the 1390. There's another tank behind us. I'm wheeling around. It's the T-54, who attempted to flank around. Jovial's already assured me he can take on the 1390, so I'm free to take on the T-54. He finishes off the 1390. I'm lining up the 4202. I get a hit and I light him on fire. Distance is definitely my friend here as I reload. The 54 could have charged me and would have had a significant advantage, although Jovial isn't too far away. No shot at the 4202. T-54 is attempting to withdraw. Line up the 4202, and I knock him down. Jovial gets a hit on the 54. He's hiding behind the buildings right now. And I knock him down as he pops out of cover. The enemy's down to just Artie at this point. And we're capping their base. And our team caps out the base for the win. Based on information from the Wot Replay Analyzer, I destroyed 3 tanks, damaged 2 more, hit 7 of 10 shots for 3,630 points of damage, and earned 1,452 experience before the double. Overall, while Jovial and I planned to push the northern flank, the enemy sent overwhelming numbers in our direction. Rather than pushing into an impossible situation, we quickly fell back to base. A smart tactical retreat is always preferable to throwing your tank away. Once we fell back, we sniped the enemy from the ridge until the enemy forced us into close quarters combat. While we were outnumbered for most of the engagement, playing together and staying coordinated allowed us to work over and dispatch the tanks on our flank. The enemy could have easily overwhelmed us if they pushed on us in mass, but they were content to play peekaboo to try and avoid a face full of BL-10. Thank you for watching this episode of What I'm Thinking. Stay tuned for another episode soon. In the next episode, I will take a look at the Black Prince and how a little mobility can go a long way.
Ha ha ha.